This is a presentation of the Sports Source Digital Network, presented by Hearthside Bank.
What happens when the quarterback with the most talent is the one that's least ready to play? That's what we're going to discuss today, along with Ryan Callahan here on the Sports Source Digital Network. I'm John Pennington. Thank you for joining us. Ryan, let's start with the quarterbacks. It's all anybody's talking about. Who is the most experienced player overall? Of the three quarterbacks, who's the most experienced?
That would be Joey Aguilar. You know, he's got his, 25 career starts or whatever from Appalachian State. He's thrown 56 touchdown passes in 2 years. You know, that's the reason I kind of went into this quarterback competition thinking from the start, it's going to be hard for anyone to beat him out. It's going to be the onus is on Jake Merklinger, George MacIntyre, whoever, to play significantly better than him because he had such an edge in experience.
And who knows the playbook the best? Who's been around the longest here in this system?
Yeah, that would be Jake Merklinger. He's got his, he's in his second year in the system. That's one reason I think a lot of people gave him a shot going into this competition, thinking, hey, it's his second year. He's got the leg up on MacIntyre in experience, and Aguilar's been here 3 months.
And who's the most talented of these three guys?
Certainly long term, it's George MacIntyre, and you could make the case that even now it might be George MacIntyre.
He's got the best arm.
He has the best arm talent, I think, and again, we'll see how quickly he can pick up everything else, but I think he's shown enough signs to make coaches think, hey, there's some real potential there even this year maybe.
So the question then, if you've got, and he was the guy I've said on this network and on my shows many times, you don't want to see George MacIntyre this year.
No.
You want Joey Aguilar to come in, or Merklinger. You want one of those older guys to take it and run with it. Mm-hmm. And MacIntyre, let him put some weight on because he is wispy thin. Mm-hmm. Although Peyton Manning was not built like a brick wall.
Yeah.
Josh Dobbs, I don't remember being thick as can be.
Tyler Bray is a true freshman.
Tyler Bray. All these true freshmen, I mean, so we'll get to that. But he is the guy that they probably, if they'd drawn it up, he would have been the guy destined for a red shirt.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you do now that Aguilar hasn't run away with it? After the last scrimmage over the weekend, Josh Heupel said, we're not going to change the way we're divvying up reps. So you're still splitting reps. Mm-hmm. Merklinger, again, we have to talk about that. And let me tell you, I just copped to it. All these other YouTube channels, they're not seeing it either. So I'm just honest with you and saying we're all bickering over this stuff that no one could get in there and see it.
Yep.
So, this is the channel that tells you that. The others just act like they're in there. When we're listening to what people who are in there, and they're giving, when we're talking to sources, the sources say Merklinger has not stepped up as they would have hoped.
Yeah.
So what do you do now? What do you do? At what point do you say, well, hell, just give it to the thin kid?
Well, so I still think that this job is Joey Aguilar's.
Yep.
I'm fully convinced he will be the opening day starter.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't know why, though. Go ahead.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting at.
Well, so a couple things on that. One, I think the evaluation of all the quarterbacks is harder because the receivers have missed so much work. That's a problem, and that Josh Heupel might not admit that's thrown a wrench into this, but I'm sure it has on some level.
He'll never admit anything.
Yeah. So I think that's a factor in this. So how much, when you throw a pick six to Colin Brazel in a closed scrimmage, whose fault is the interception? Did the receiver run the wrong, make a decision? Was it an option route where a receiver was on the wrong page with the quarterback and suddenly the ball ends up in a defensive back's hands easily? Something like that.
Don't you think the sources who are in there would have said that?
Probably so. I mean, we don't know for sure.
Some of this you have to do a little math. If they wanted to protect Aguilar's reputation, I think whoever is in there during the scrimmage would have said, now, it went off three guys' hands. It wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
The fact that no one's saying that makes me think, no, it's probably a dumb pick six.
Right.
But I didn't see it.
And it could have been a great play, too. Who knows? But either way.
By a walk-on.
Yeah.
which bodes well for when you play real competition.
Yeah. So, I mean, and Joey Aguilar, as we've talked about throughout this offseason, has a reputation for being a little risky with the ball. Everything he's done at Appalachian State says, I think the number Pro Football Focus had him with was 51 essentially turnover prone or potential turnover type
worthy
throws.
plays. Yeah.
Yes. So he's had a good number of high risk throws that you may have to coach that out of him. I think this system will help with that, but how much? So that part probably doesn't shock people to hear that he had an interception like that in the game. But even with that, and I think he's been okay so far. I don't think he's been great, but I think he's been okay. He's had some good days. Like I thought yesterday he threw well in the portion of practice we get to see, routes on air, to the extent anybody can look good there. He looked good yesterday, I thought, on Monday. But at the same time, I don't think he's run away with it in the way. He's not taken the job in the sense that he's
claimed it.
Yeah, he's not won it.
That's right.
He's the starter almost by default, I think, at this point, because the guy that you thought was the closest competitor has not really given him a run for his money. So that's not great for what fans want to hear.
No.
But I don't think the dilemma becomes, do you start George MacIntyre or consider starting him to open the season? But I do think it's a totally fair discussion of how you should approach this the rest of the way. Should you be getting George MacIntyre ready to be the number 2 quarterback? Should you be getting his level of activity ramped up to make him kind of the next guy if Joey Aguilar stumbles early in the season, where he's ready to go maybe within that first month of the season, just in case something like that happens?
In other words, just replace Merklinger with MacIntyre
but
on the depth chart.
But I'll tell you why I don't think that's going to happen. We see this a lot. Josh Heupel tends to take the path of least resistance in a lot of these types of situations. Yeah. If you do that, Jake Merklinger checks out. He's done. He's mentally going to the transfer portal already. They don't want to waste a quarterback like that. And it's much easier to just keep Jake Merklinger number 2 officially on the depth chart.
But the push comes to shove if Aguilar snaps an ankle. Who's the guy they send out?
Exactly. So, or at least both guys would play and they'd let it sort itself out on the field. So,
and this is where I'm going, right?
Yeah.
At some point, put your best guys on the field, don't you? I mean, if we look back, and I don't know that MacIntyre is the best guy, so I don't want to make it. Yeah. I'm asking questions. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
I'm not the president of the George MacIntyre fan club. Again, I've thought the people who said I saw him in spring, he's the best guy. Tap the brakes on that.
Right.
Okay. Now we're getting deeper into it. You know that if Heupel had drawn this up, Aguilar would have already claimed it.
Yeah.
This was for show. We talked about it with Mike Stoll and Ollie Lane a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. How do you set this up to where it looks fair to everybody? Well, you go through a real competition, but you set it up to where Aguilar has the best guys around him and everybody sees him look good. And that way, Merklinger knows he lost it. Everybody knows Aguilar earned it. You're good. So it's all for show. But you're past the first scrimmage. You got one more scrimmage? One more real scrimmage.
I don't think they were ever going to pare it down after the first scrimmage. I think they were always going to go through both scrimmages
and still not decide who's going to split leave the reps the same.
Leave the reps basically the same.
That seems even more stupid to me.
Because you're talking a week and a half if you just cut it off after the first scrimmage. Is a week and a half enough to this? I mean, I think they want to go through again when culture and everything is as important as it is to Josh Heupel. I think playing it out a little bit longer and giving everyone a fair shot is part of it.
And I like Josh Heupel. I think he's a good coach. But The idea, this is a sports talk show. We ask questions.
Yeah.
I would ask, at what point are you sacrificing getting your guy ready to just make people feel good?
It's a fair.
I don't get that. I would be trying to get, if Aguilar hasn't run away with the job, and yet you're giving him the starting job, maybe it's time to give him 2/3 of the reps.
Yeah.
Instead of splitting everything between him and Merklinger and MacIntyre.
Yeah.
And I know your third guy is going to get some snaps anyway, but it's literally it's last snap of the day kind of stuff is what that third guy usually gets. So why don't you just cut this down a little bit? I can't believe that they went into it saying, so they're not going to cut it down until after the second scrimmage, which is the only other scrimmage they're doing, right?
Yeah, I mean you're only allowed 2 full scrimmages by the NCAA rules these days. But yeah, so
it's 3 in spring and 2 in fall.
But that's my guess.
A walkthrough thing.
Yeah, they'll do a walkthrough deal the final weekend before the season opener. But that's I think. I mean, I don't think they went in saying we're definitely not going to decide on a quarterback till then. But I mean, let's face it. I said it going into camp. They're not going to name a starter till game week. Period. Right. No matter what. And they're probably going to let them play it out at least a couple weeks. And so I think the way it's shaped up, they haven't changed anything on the practice field this week. I think it's going to go through at least this second scrimmage, and that was probably always the plan from the beginning.
Sounds like you're good with it then.
I'm not saying I'm good with it, but I think that's for better or worse. When you buy it, when you believe in culture and approaching things a certain way, the way Josh Heupel does, I think he thinks there's value in that. If you don't want a player to come to you or his parents or whoever and to say, you didn't give my kid a fair shot, or you didn't give me a fair shot. One bad scrimmage and this competition's over, or whatever.
I think you get that from every parent who's not starting.
Yeah.
All year long. I would be shocked if he runs his team.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to hear from so and so.
I think you don't want the players to think that it was a competition only entitled, that it was a preordained competition that was called in 10 days in one scrimmage and it's over. I think you wanted to give them a fair chance to play through struggles.
I think if Aguilar had taken it and run with it, I think they'd have probably gone to it.
And maybe that's part of it. But my sense, just to guess here, I think they would have let it play out through the second scrimmage either way.
Well, I got a problem with that. I don't think that's.
Yeah.
I don't see the point in that.
You still got 2 weeks to get ready for the season opener, so there is that. But
with a guy who's been on campus for 100 days,
it's
not like he's been here,
right?
As long as MacIntyre. MacIntyre's been here longer than he has.
Yeah.
So to me, that's what changes this. If this were any other year, fine. This guy's new.
Yeah.
Get him reps.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I'm banging the drum on this receiver thing, and now everybody else is too. Yeah. I'm seeing that's everybody's new talking point. Last week I was the bad guy for bringing this up, and you're making a mountain out of a molehill. Now everybody in town is talking about the receivers. Like, see, it hurts them that they're not getting these guys on the same page with the receivers. But you could at least start working your starting quarterback more, in my opinion. Josh Heupel, excellent quarterback. Did a thing with Ollie Lane last week where I typically give him the benefit of the doubt, and we will here too, but he's opening himself up.
Yeah.
If Aguilar goes out there and stinks against Syracuse, I think we're going to have some serious discussions about, did they get him ready? Should he have been the guy?
And I'll tell you another thing. I was talking about this yesterday. I see so many people saying, well, this team's they're not gonna win a championship anyway. The thing that you hear coming out of the scrimmage,
they're not saying that.
That makes, well, obviously not. But the thing that you hear coming out of the scrimmage is everything else looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And so getting this right, and let's face it, Tennessee's done it before. I was talking with someone who did not remember that Tennessee in 2004 won an SEC East title by mostly starting two true freshman quarterback, Brent Schaefer and Eric Ainge, and it worked out pretty well.
Sure
you had
did.
a team that you could lean on the defense and run game with that team while those guys figured it out. They still made some plays in the passing game. You could conceivably do that with a guy like George MacIntyre if you thought he was the guy that gave you the best chance. So getting this right is critical because this team, just from what we're hearing, the descriptions of it, it sounds like you've got a really good defense. It sounds like you got a run game that, despite losing Dylan Sampson, might not take a step backward at all. And it sounds like you got some real talent at tight end. And an offensive line that, despite losing 4 starters, looked pretty good in scrimmage 1. So
everybody's talking about Lance Hurd looks like a different guy, and David Sanders seems to have been a guy who hits the ground running. So
and I heard some really good things about Wendell Moy Jr. that he's a guy that's got maybe some NFL potential.
And if Pendleton's now 100% healthy, maybe that.
Yeah.
Maybe the center position cleans up a little too. Mm-hmm. So if you've got all this good stuff going, though, again, I'm like, if you look back at the end of the year, let's say this team pulls a Tyler Bray.
Yeah.
And late in the season, they go to a freshman, and he looks good.
Yep.
Are we not going to be sitting there saying, what the
yeah.
hell did you do in September?
Absolutely. And especially now because we've heard these things. And you can't put that back in the box.
Right, yeah.
Everyone knows now that George MacIntyre has looked good in the orange and white game and looked good in scrimmage 1. If we hear the same types of reports coming out of scrimmage 2, I really do wonder if this becomes more of maybe even openly, a competition for that number 2 job where they're not just going to give it to Jake Merklinger because he's the experienced guy. Because I do think you've got, now, again, the path of least resistance is just give it to Merklinger.
Status quo.
George MacIntyre's not going to rock the boat, but being the number 3, he's a true freshman. But in a long-term absence, I think that's a very open question. Would George MacIntyre get the first look if Joey Aguilar went out for 2 or 3 weeks? It's a really interesting discussion now with the way things have played out.
Okay, and again, I'm not rah-rahing for George MacIntyre. I'm just trying to push to get answers.
Yeah.
You sound like, boy, he should be your number 2. That's what I'm hearing. It sounds like you think he should be your number 2, and you've said he may be the most talented. Tell me why. Is it because he weighs 8 pounds? Because it's not that he knows the offense any worse than Aguilar, because he would actually know it a little bit better, I guess, because he's been in it just a tad longer than Aguilar.
Yeah.
Why do you say, He's showing this. Make you number 2. Do not let him near the starting gig. Why?
Why he should be the number 2?
Yeah, why not the number 1? Why you would say no?
Okay.
It has to be Aguilar.
Yeah.
Period. All this is for show. We all know it's for show. It has to be Aguilar. I don't care if MacIntyre has the better arm. I don't care if he's the better long-term prospect. We go with Aguilar. Why?
Well, I think experience does matter, and I think that's, to the extent that this all might have been preordained to some extent. And I'm not saying Josh Heupel went into camp saying Joey Aguilar absolutely is the quarterback no matter what happens, but
he got more money to come in for a reason.
I think they expected it to play out that way. So as long as things didn't go dramatically different from what you expected, I think Aguilar was the guy they wanted to win the job. It makes the most sense for this team, which is despite losing some guys from last year, this is a pretty veteran team. You got a senior filled defensive line. You got Jermod McCoy and Ricky Gibson as juniors. Yeah. Arion Carter as a junior. Defense full of veterans and an offensive line that's got some veterans. So you've got a lot of talent around him. And if you've got a veteran quarterback that works out, hey, this team could go somewhere. So there's a lot of, it's on 56 touchdown passes in 2 years. That's way more than the 1 or 2 maybe that Jake Merklinger threw last year. I don't even remember if he threw one.
There were a few more interceptions too,
in his limited work. So the experience,
he's had his moments. Yeah.
Experience advantage is huge, and I think Tennessee believes they can probably coach some of the bad habits out of Joey Aguilar and maybe make him an even better quarterback than what he was at Appalachian State. So I think for those reasons, and just it's hard anywhere to start day one as a quarterback in the SEC, the Big Ten, anywhere. You don't see many guys do it. Bryce Underwood at Michigan, guys like that, they're few and far between. Even Nico coming in, no one was having any serious thoughts about Nico starting day one at Tennessee, and there's a reason for that.
I just know when Tennessee's had to do it.
Yeah.
It hasn't always blown up in their face.
And
it didn't blow up in their face when they went to Dobbs as a freshman. It didn't blow up in their face with Tyler Bray. It didn't blow up in their face with Angel Schaefer.
Yeah.
It didn't blow up in their face when Jerry Colquitt went down and they went to Peyton Manning and Brandon Stewart.
Mm-hmm. Casey Clausen was pretty solid.
Casey Clausen, you went now he didn't take over.
It was an Alabama game, I think.
He came in banged up and he played a little. I think it was A.J. Suggs and the Matthews kid, and then he takes over. These guys take over mid-season, a lot of them. The Manning and Stewart took over mid-season. They played early, but they didn't take over as the guy. I think Manning wound up starting the last 8 games.
Yeah.
So I just wonder if you wind up having to do that and it doesn't go sideways, are they going to have egg on their face because, you threw away September?
No.
Because I'll be sitting here saying, hey, did they throw away September? I think you ask these questions ahead of time rather than behind. And again, Aguilar is probably what I would do. Yeah. I assumed it was going to be Aguilar all along.
Yeah.
They went out and tried to get the kid from TCU. They tried to get the kid from Illinois. They tried to get the kid from Iowa State. They were looking for a starter.
Yeah.
I think they view Aguilar as their starter.
Yeah.
That said, if he's not running away with it and MacIntyre's got more talent, I don't see why you can't have an actual competition there unless you tell me he can't protect himself. He weighs 14 pounds.
And I do think
it's an embryo out there.
And I do think the weight is a concern. I think there have been serious conversations. Yeah, about 195 to 200, somewhere in that range. And I think there have been serious discussions about trying to ramp that up going into the season as much as possible to get him ready, because I think they know there's a realistic scenario he plays. And I think the mindset has gone from, okay, George MacIntyre is a talented guy we're excited about, but he's probably going to redshirt this year, play in 3 or 4 games in mop-up duty like Jake Merklinger did last year, to maybe he doesn't have to redshirt if something happens. I think the mindset has shifted. Now we'll see how much does he continue to play this way and in this entire week and in scrimmage too. Does he build on this and make this an interesting discussion, or does it end up being, okay, he's got flashes, but it's still hit and miss. He's still a freshman. He's still got a lot to learn. I think how he responds to all this is a part of it too. But it's a good situation to have in the sense that at least you have another guy that's playing pretty well beyond Joey Aguilar. So now you've got something to build on, but are they willing to throw him in there if something's – because what I would be doing based on what I've heard, I would be starting Joey Aguilar to start the year, but I would be using that first 5 games of the season before the open date as a real test of whether I think he can win 10 games for me, because I think this is a team that should have its sights on the college football playoff again. And if you don't have an offense that you believe can do that, you've got a perfect opportunity there at the end of September, date. to make a switch right there and go with maybe a talented freshman that gives you a little bit of a boost. I would be looking at it that way, not saying I'm going to make the change, but that if the passing game is sputtering, you've got another guy here that's talented and young and could give you a spark.
I think the difference between us is, I thought it was going to be Aguilar, but it sounds like he's played his way back to the pack. He hasn't been bad. It's just I expected him to come in and clearly be the guy. He's not clearly the guy yet. Maybe we're here by the end of the week. He's become the guy. Completely possible. But he's played his way back into a mix, and at that point I'm like, oh, hell, just put the best guy out there. You're like, give him a month and then put the best guy out there. If you see it's not working, it's safer in your mind to go with Aguilar to begin with as opposed to freshman. And to me, give them both snaps.
I mean, maybe there's. Josh Heupel doesn't sound like he's a big believer in 2 quarterback systems.
But we've seen that work. Again, we just talked about him: Stewart, Manning, Ainge.
Which, by the way, interesting wrinkle. Josh Heupel revealed this in an interview back around SEC Media Days. He was splitting halves at quarterback in junior college at one point because he was the starter and the guy that was leaving came back or something like that. He said they're good friends to this day. He got the second half, I think it was, and the other guy got the first half. And so he's done it before, but maybe his experience there wasn't that fun. But he doesn't like 2 quarterback systems, so I don't think he'll go that way. And I think he's a believer in what the quarterback needs to be as a leader of the team, too. And that's why you want to.
Yeah, all these guys have different views on that. Then you get a Spurrier who's like changed them literally by play.
Every play.
Yeah. All right, Ryan Callahan, thank you very much for this. I think this is an interesting debate. I was hoping we wouldn't have to, this deep into fall camp. I was thinking Aguilar would be settled. You'd be looking at the receivers, and instead you got quarterbacks who are questioned.
Yeah.
You got some of the receivers that have missed the time. So it's interesting times on Rocky Top, but still plenty of time to get ready for Syracuse. If you like content like this with Ryan Callahan, give us a thumbs up. If you want to hit the subscribe button, that does us a world of good too. You can also ring the bell. That'll notify you when we put up new stuff here on the channel. And leave a comment. I want to get your take. I know there are people out there who are Team MacIntyre. I know there are people out there who are just, do not question Josh Heupel. Stop questioning our coach, which is well and good. You all tend to disappear when he loses a game, though. That's when you start asking questions. But off season, we can't ask questions. Let us know. Is it wrong for me to even play devil's advocate? Is it right for them to say, we're not worried about talent, Aguilar's the guy, we're going the safe route? You tell us. Put it in the comment section. I always enjoy reading it. Occasionally, I'll respond. Thanks very much. We'll see you next time on the Sports Source Digital Network.